Hi, my little babies, and welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. Vogue. If you don't get that, if you don't know what I'm doing, you're too young to be here. Don't be reading these books when you're underage. No, I'm kidding. Listen, you do what your mom lets you do, okay? You do what you can get away with, because I know I did. Anyway, I'm not advocating for bad behavior unless it's in fiction. Hi, my name is Candace. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you so much for joining me. We are here. We are back. We are doing another review. My camera's this way. Another review. Refocus. Or don't. Or just don't. Because you'll be able to see more of my... I have under eye bags so large, they have to get checked at the airport. You know why? Because I don't sleep. I think I get average 4 hours of sleep a night. How am I still functioning? I'll tell you, I'm not. I do the bare minimum. But you know what? That is my best. And I'm doing my best. Okay? Please ignore the clickety clicks that you hear coming from Freckles. He got a house upgrade. And there's like a plastic platform for him to like get up on. He's got a little ramp and stuff. And he can like get up there and just chill and not be in the shavings and drink water and do whatever, eat his food. And his nails need to be trimmed because he bites me when I try and trim them. So he's clickety clacking. Ignore. Anyway, okay. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing this book. This is called When She Unravels by Gabrielle Sands. Yes, it is mafia. It's Italian mafia. Here's the thing. And I think I've talked about this in a previous video. I don't know the difference between Cosa Nostra and Sicilian mafia. And like, there's like different... Okay. Like, why do you hate me, Rabbit? Why do you hate me? There's like different sects, not sex, like S-E-X, sex, like S-E-C-T-S, sects. They're different, right? Aren't they? Are they different? I don't know. See, that's what I mean. I don't know. I don't know if they're different. All I know is that this book, I wonder, is Gabrielle like Italian? Is she actually Italian? Because this book felt like the verbiage and terms used and stuff felt very Italian. I know that sounds stupid. But you know how sometimes you can read like a mafia book that takes place in another country, like for example, Bratva. And you can tell, okay, they got these terms. She's not Russian, the author. They got these terms from Google, and you know, like you come to expect like certain terms, right? That you've heard a million times in a billion other mafia books, right? But you can tell when the author is not from that culture when they're very vague in how they word things. And then you can tell when an author, I think, is actually of that culture because they use like terms and very specific things, like very specific terms that sound legit. They sounded legit, okay? Like, I don't know what consigliere, I don't know what that is. That's like, the only other time I think I've heard that word is in Mila Finelli's mafia books, which again, maybe she is actually Italian. I don't know. But you know how like there's, oh, this is the New York sect of the Cosa Nostra. And they don't go into great detail about like what they're called, what certain ranks are called, and et cetera, et cetera. And then you have like actually in Italy, Italian mafia. And they use really specific terms. There's really specific terms in this book. It sounded legit, okay? I'm just saying. I'm very ignorant. I'm an American. I've read a bunch of mafia books, but I'll be honest, Italian mafia is probably my least favorite mafia. If the book is well written and it's a good story, I'll read it either way. And you can make me like Italian mafia. But if you said, choose one kind of mafia, Russian, hands down. Second runner-up, Irish. I don't know why. The accents don't do anything for me. And I know that's personal preference because there's a lot of people who really love Italian mafia accents, like Italian accents, a man with an Italian accent. Right? A lot of people feel that way. I don't. And I listened to the audio for this book. So I was listening to that the whole time. And I just couldn't. I was like, okay. It's fine. But it wouldn't be my favorite. So, sorry. Sorry. Do I continue to read Italian mafia? Sure. Because I love mafia. If I had to choose one, like, subgenre of romance, it would be mafia romance. I love me a good kidnapping. Love me a good hostage situation. Love me a good Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, give it to me. Okay, let's get into it. This book is called When She Unravels by Gabrielle Sands. This is the first book in the series. This book and all the books in the series, which I think there's like 5. There's 4 or 5. Are free to read with Kindle Unlimited. If you want to purchase this book for your Kindle, you can get it for the price of $1.99. $1.99. And like, you know, when people actually purchase a book that Amazon's taking like they're just like, give me 90% of that. So she ain't making no money. That's hella cheap. Go buy this book, okay? If you want the paperback for this book, you can get it for $15.99, which I think is pretty standard. I did not see a hardcover option, but there is audio. The audio is narrated by Charlotte Claremont and Gabrielle Spires. I don't think I've heard Gabrielle Spires in a lot of audiobooks. If I have, then I just didn't associate the name with the voice. I may have. Charlotte Claremont, on the other hand. Listen. You know how the first time you hear a new narrator's voice, you either love them or you hate them? I think I first heard Charlotte Claremont when she narrated the Monsters and Muses series by Savar Miller. And I liked her voice at the beginning of that. But here's my beef, okay? Haven't gotten into any details of the book. It's fine. Here's my beef. When an author chooses to use the same narrator for every single book in a series, they like bleed together for me. So when an author chooses to do that, I won't say that the books all bleed together, but the female character bleeds together for me in every book. Very rarely, and you have to be like, you have to have written them as such a powerful standout character that I don't associate that voice with a different character from another book. And usually I don't find that to be the case. So I would ask that, I wonder if there's like a discount. Like if I get you to narrate my first book, if I choose to have you narrate the second one, do I get a discount? Because if I do, then that would explain why they choose to use the same narrator for every book in the series. But if they don't, and you could pay someone else, why wouldn't you do that? Maybe you have a good relationship with that narrator. You have a good rapport with that narrator. You know that they're on their shit and they do their stuff timely, right? Fine. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. So, yeah. But like, you gotta try new narrators, because I just can't. And that's how I feel about Charlotte Claremont. I listened to her narrate all of the Savard Miller books, and every single, with the exception of Riley in book 2, and it was only because she had pink hair. With the exception of her, every single character, female main character, bled together for me. It's probably a me problem. It could 100% be a me problem, but it's still a problem for me. So I'm just saying, a note for authors, please get different people to narrate your characters, because if they're part of a series, I will merge them into one person. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, this book has 390 pages. So pretty standard, pretty chunky, right? Like I said, this is the first book in a series. I'm going to read you guys a blurb and then we'll break it down. I don't remember much about this book, so I may just read my notes that I wrote down and essentially give you the entire plot. Okay? In my own shorthanded, weird, quirky version. Okay? So the blurb for this says, he's the most powerful man in, it's spelled Ibiza. In the book, they pronounce it as Ibiza, with a th, or Ibiza. I don't remember. I think it was Ibiza. I think that's how people, I watch this show, and I have watched since its inception. It's now like 30 series is in. Because, you know, in the UK, they don't call them like seasons, they call them series. So it's like the 14th series, right? I watched a show called The Only Way is Essex, and that's the way they say it, Ibiza. So I think that's how you're supposed to say it, but they're British, so how am I supposed to know? What if they're just putting their own accent on it? I don't know. Anyway, he's the most powerful man in Ibiza, and he'll do anything to make me his, okay? I've been raised to be the perfect mafia wife, but when my marriage turns into a horrific nightmare, I have no choice but to leave everything behind and start a new life. I find myself alone in Ibiza, a place that swallows innocent girls like me alive. I'm robbed the day I arrive, left with, why did I laugh? It's not funny. I'm robbed the day I arrive, left with nothing but a few euros and the clothes on my back. My desperation leads me right to Damiano. That's another thing that I'm going to talk about. Damiano de Rossi. He rules over this island with an iron fist, and beneath his strikingly handsome face lies a wicked darkness. I ask him for a job. He gives me far more than that. Degradation, jealousy, and toe-curling lust. Why is my eyebrow itching? Sorry. It's probably going, this hair is out of place. But then again, they're all out of place, so it doesn't matter. When my resistance to him is all but gone, a secret is revealed, and we fall apart like a house of cards. I know what I have to do. Run. But when I try, I discover he's already got me bound. Okay. So the two main characters for this book are Damiano and Valentina. Throughout the majority of the book, she goes by the name Valet, like a person that will park your car, but obviously said with an Italian accent, Valet. She's married. She's on the run from her husband, whom she thinks, or doesn't know because she's not sure if he died, that she killed. So her husband is a sick, twisted piece of shit. And he works for her father, who is like the head of the Italian mafia in... Italian mafia? No, he's head of some kind of mafia in New York. And this is again why I say, is there a difference between Cosa Nostra and like Sicilian mob? Because they don't seem to connect these two. Like, her dad doesn't have anything to do with this organization that Damiano works for. So, I don't know. Anyway, her husband's name is Lazzaro, and he works for her father. And he routinely, as you would in the mafia, tortures people, right? He has a dungeon, like a full-on dungeon basement with cages, like cells and such. And it's not enough for him. Like, he gets off himself torturing people. But he has found that it gets him off more to make her torture people. And so shortly after they got married, he started making her torture and murder people he had kidnapped. Did it fuck her up psychologically? Yes. Did she learn to live with it for a bit because she rationalized that these people were bad people anyway? Yes. Until one night, he brings her down to the basement thing. And there's a young girl in one of the cells. And she gets very little information about who she is, where she came from, blah, 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 why he took her. But there's little clues in the things that he says that come out later in the book to be very telling in who hired him and what they did that for, and et cetera, right? So he's like, I have a new subject for us to torture. And she's like, I can't torture this little girl. She's not little. She's like a teenager. She's like, I don't know, 19 or something, older teen. And she's like, but I can't torture her. She's innocent, clearly. So she has to make a very drastic choice. And she finally chooses to pull the trigger, literally, to leave him. She shoots him. She doesn't know where. She hopes that she killed him, but she is not sure. And she helps the girl escape. They get to the airport. The girl is going to Ibiza. That's gonna fuck me up this whole video. And she's like, I need to go somewhere else. Like, I need to get away as far away from here as I can get. She lets the girl go with God, right? Like, done. She thinks she's done. So she's like, there are no flights, and I need to get the fuck out of this airport in like 20 minutes before they come after me. Because if he's still alive, he's gonna come after me. If he's not still alive, the rest of whoever works for her father is gonna come after her, right? So the only flight leaving in the next 20 minutes is the one to Ibiza. So she gets on that plane with the girl. Not with the girl, but in a separate seat, and like she's not seen again, right? Until she gets to Ibiza. Shortly after she gets there, she starts staying in like a hostel with other people. I don't really know what a hostel is. It's like a shared hotel. So like you're roommating with people or whatever. I don't know if that's like bunk beds. It's cheaper. Anyway, she gets there and she gets robbed. Someone steals all her shit. She only has like the money that was stuffed in like her boobage area or like somewhere inconspicuous. And her passport, obviously, that she like left under the hostel bed. And she doesn't have any ID other than the passport. But even if she did, she couldn't tell people who she is, because then her father or Lazzaro would be able to track her. So she tries to get a job. She's like, I'm not going to be able to survive out here if I don't have an income. She goes to a local club with her two roommates at the hostel who work at this club. And they're like, we can get you a job. Come over here, whatever. So she goes. She tries to interview for a job, and they shut her down. They're like, you don't have ID? You don't, no, we're not hiring. We're full. We're seasonal staff is booked. We're done. She's like, I desperately need a job. While she's there interviewing, she gets spotted by Damiano. And again, like his name in the book is like shortened to like Dom, but it's like damn. Dom. Anyway, my brain heard Dom, so that's what we're gonna go with. So she gets spotted by Dom. She doesn't know at the time that he's the owner of the club. She finds out later that he's the owner of the club. She begs him for a job. He's like, no, you don't have ID. I can't give you a job. Eventually he relents. And he tells her that okay, here's one thing that confused me. And maybe I missed something, or my brain misheard, or something. Is definitely possible. But it was made out during this point that he was going to make her do something super degrading, like strip. And I think at one point it was alluded to that, like, she was going to be working in like the private room of the men's. And my brain just immediately heard he's going to make you a stripper. Again, could have just been my brain. He ends up making her clean. He turns her into like a housekeeper for the club. She cleans the club, she cleans his office, she cleans, etc., etc. She has like an older lady that she reports to. And while she's there cleaning, he's watching her. And he's foamy at the mouth, right? But that's like when she's not looking. When she is looking, they're bickering. Or they're like, he's like being very standoffish. I can't touch that. No, like, you know, she works for me now. So, eventually, they start banging. And there's like a couple of altercations with this guy who's very skeevy, who like works for him, but like really is like a ratty snitch to the head of the Sicilian mafia. Essentially, Damiano has been banished to Ibiza. He is the son of the old leader of the mob. He watched the current leader of the mob murder his whole family. And then, or in this case, murder his parents. And then he essentially, for his sister's sake, he took, to save her life, to save his own life, he took this position as the capo of an island that is like just a tourist destination. Here's what I did not care for. His main income is from drug running. And I don't really like that. Personal preference. I want my villains to do bad things, right? I want my anti-heroes to be bad guys, but who are really good guys. And there's, for me, there's like certain lines you don't cross. I couldn't get fully into a book that had a main male character who was like a sex trafficker. Even if that's the only way he could get his income, I don't care. I don't want to, it's not hot to me. The same thing is said for a drug trafficker. It does nothing for me. And it puts like a little sour taste in my mouth. Personal preference. But like, I love the mafia people who are either, they run protection rackets or they run gambling rings. And yes, gambling rings, like, obviously there is a such thing as like a gambling addiction, and it can ruin lives, right? But with drugs, it's like the only thing it's there for is to fuck you up. And it may start off and you getting fucked up in a good way. Eventually, you'll be fucked up in a bad way if you continue doing it, right? And it kills people, and I don't like that. So I didn't care for that. But putting that to the side, Damiano himself, very stoic, very straight-laced, very intense, right? And I was all here for that. So eventually they start banging. And he gets all of his income from the drug business in Ibiza. So obviously Ibiza is a tourist destination. He owns all the clubs that are there, and people come there to have a good time. While they're there, 9 times out of 10, they're getting high. He gets his supply from the guy that murdered his parents, or like the syndicate, whatever. And he in turn gives them a shit ton of money. Like he supplies a giant chunk of the organization's funds with his drugs. And he knows that. And he's kind of been sitting back waiting for the moment where he can like get his revenge, right? So it turns out that the girl that Valet rescued in the dungeon is his little sister. And that comes out later when she meets her. And what is her name? Martina goes, "It's you. You're the one who saved me." But really she just starts screaming. Because obviously she's hysterical and she's like, "Oh my God, I never thought I'd see you again. I'm traumatized by this whole ordeal." As you would, right? But Damiano punishes Valet for her part in the kidnapping, even though she didn't have anything to do with it. He doesn't know the extent of her relationship with Lazaro. He doesn't know any of these things. She's up to the point she's lied to him about her identity. He knows nothing about her. Eventually, well, during the time that after he finds out that she had a part in Martina's kidnapping, he goes hard. He like goes ham on her in like the degradation and just being an asshole department. Even though in his mind he knows this is the woman that set my sister free, he still can't bring himself to like apologize or be nice to her, which I think is pretty standard for like a lot of mafia books, but it still annoys me. Like, bro, you know that she let your sister go. She didn't torture her. She didn't whatever. She let your sister go. You can't punish her just because of who she happened to associate with. I mean, I guess you can, but you shouldn't, because you know she ain't like that. Right? So anyway, she starts essentially living in his house. He's like, "I'm taking you out of that hostel. It's dangerous. I don't like it there. It's in a bad neighborhood, etc., etc. You're coming to stay in my house." He puts her up in a room. He kidnaps her, essentially. And then she becomes like his live-in fuck toy who he treats like trash. But while he's treating her like trash, he's also simultaneously protecting her and being really nice to her and, you know, grudgingly letting her weasel her way into his life. So eventually her and Martina become friends. Speaking of, there's like a guy who is from he's another capo of the mob, and he comes to the house, and there's like some tension between him and Martina, and I'm pretty sure they get a book, or they've got a book, and I'm gonna get there because when that happened, I was like, oof, yes, please. So eventually he finds out her true identity, what's her real name, who she's related to, etc., etc. He essentially sexually tortures her for information about what happened the night that his sister was taken. Everything that happened in the dungeon thing, everything that was said, I need verbatim every word. Come to find out, those little clues that I talked about earlier point him directly at the guy who killed his parents, the current head of the mafia. And he's like, you know, I've sat idle for long enough. This is bullshit. I don't have the manpower on this isolated island to take out him and all his allies. But a lot of people, I'm getting intel that a lot of people are really unhappy with his leadership at the moment. So now may be the best time to make my move. He recruits said guy that had tension with Martina and a couple of others that, you know, to back him. And he's like, yeah, now's the time. So he's going to go after this guy. In the meantime, this guy is getting paranoid that this guy, that Dom is up to something. And he has the little weasel dude that got into a couple of altercations with Valet. He has him like fuck with them and report back, right? So he knows something's getting antsy. During this time, Valet's husband, Lazaro, is not dead. He did not die, unfortunately. And there is a third act breakup, but really a third act, like near-death experience. And he thinks, Dom, thinks that she's died. And when I tell you the emotion that this guy, his inner monologue during that moment, I felt it. Like, it was intense. It was intense. And I was all here for it. I was like, yeah, you should feel sorry. You've treated her like crap. And now is your moment of realization, your come to Jesus moment, where you're like, you're my everything. If you die, what am I going to do with myself? I'm in love with you. That moment, I felt it. I felt it here. Anyway, she doesn't die. He gets her back. She kills Lazaro, which was a good twist for me, because usually the man, oh, I'm going to save you, damsel in distress, right? But no, she killed him. She was very resourceful. She used like a rock to bludgeon him. And then she I think she stabbed him a bunch. Yeah. So anyway, she ends up killing Lazaro. And then she gets back to, what's his name? Dom. And now they're going to make a move on the main guy. It's a terrible review. Anyway, I really enjoyed the book. It kept me interested enough, even with Charlotte Claremont's voice, it kept me interested enough to want to continue reading the series, which says a lot. Oh, so at the end, when they decide to make their move against Sal, who's the main boss guy, Dom sends Martina to stay with the guy she had tension with for her own protection, right? I think his name is Giorgio. Yeah. And he sends his cousin, who's second in command for him, Raz, to New York to collect her sister to come visit. And while he's there, there's tension between the two of them. But it's like that bantery enemies to lovers tension. And they're like sniping at each other. So like, I see you over there too. But yes, anyway, he makes a side deal with her father to get like the drugs from another source. And part of that deal is the father, Valet, doesn't exist for you anymore. You fuck all the way off. Okay, she's mine. They're going to get married. He proposes to her. Very cute. And he makes a deal, a back alley deal, to get his cocaine from this guy, from her dad. Essentially cutting off the supply of money from Ibiza to the main branch of the mafia. And he knows it's going to piss Sal off. So there is like an overarching story here that's probably going to go play out throughout the books in the series, where they're taking down the current leader of the mob, and etc., etc. Anyway, I really enjoyed the book. I will say there's one thing about listening to an audiobook of like Italian mafia that makes it so I have a very hard time spelling. Like when I'm writing down my notes, I have a very hard time with the correct spelling of like people's names or certain words because they're Italian and they're said in such a way, right? That sometimes it's lost and I can't, I'm just like, how's that spelled? It's like when you listen to a fantasy novel, right? Like high fantasy. And you're just like, I've never heard these names in my life. These are not common. These are the most uncommon names. How the fuck do you spell that? I would have to look up how to spell that. So anyway, I really enjoyed the book. For the rating, I would give it a solid 8. 8 out of 10. I liked it a lot. I liked it enough to continue the series. So yeah, I would recommend this book to other people. I would, if you like Italian mafia, listen to the audiobook for this one. Because his Italian accent and his voice too, his voice is pretty hot. But he does a really good Italian accent. So there you go. Yes, I would recommend that you read this book. And I think that's it. If you like this video, if you like me and my channel, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I post there every day. So come have a chit chat with me. I don't remember anything else I was going to say because obviously, look, my shirt. I forgot what I was doing. Very appropriate. My best friend got me this shirt. She lives in England. Anyway, but yes, so that is all. I think that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Welcome back to another episode of I Just Read a Book, and I don't remember a fucking thing about it. In today's video, no, stop. Let's do our intro first, because Candace, you're getting ahead of yourself. Don't. Rabbit. He just stretched at me. Okay. Let's go. Ready? We're gonna see if we remember literally anything. I remember some things. Why is it that usually the things you remember most about a book are the things you didn't like? Was that just me? I don't know. Okay. Freckles, stop moving so much. Dear God. Okay. I believe it's the Unravel Me series or the Unravel series. I forget. Anyway, I'm gonna have to go print out the blurb because I didn't. I just didn't. I'm sorry. Hold please, and I'm gonna go do that. And now I'm back from outer space. I just came in, found you here with that sad look upon your face. Because I was gone for a second, I had to print out the blurb. Okay. And that comes out later when he meets her. That comes out later. And that comes out later when she meets him. No, fucking hell. Candace? Okay. Did I forget anything? Probably. I don't know. I don't know. The next one that I'm gonna do is Devil of Dublin. Sorry for the shakeage. I'm gonna do Devil of Dublin because I read that eons ago, but I still remember most of the plot. So, anyway, I love you. I will see you later. I have to go conserve my storage. Because as you know, your girl's storage is always running out. Why? Because I have 9,000 photos on my phone. It's fine. Anyway, I love you. I'll see you later. Clickety click click. Clickety click. Clickety click. Clickety. Bring me off piece of that cake.